Welcome to the Geetar Rob channel, the guitar channel for the rest of us. Thank you. I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by the chord F. Like the chord B, F is often a forgotten chord. No one likes to play it, except country western musicians, and they always put it in right in between C and G. They like to do that. So we remind you to go ahead and keep chord F alive. Use it regularly so it doesn't become extinct like the chord H did. You never see people using chord H anymore, and it's just really kind of sad. Welcome to another video about the heady world of guitar-generated noise. The subject of this episode is a major controversy that science and theology have been at odds over for many, many years. And the question is a guitar a product of intelligent design, or is it a result of the big
bada boom?
Big.
Big.
Yeah, big bada boom.
Big. Bada big boom. Big.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, big bada boom.
Bada boom.
Big boom.
Yeah, intelligent design or the big bada boom? I have my own theories, but we'll explore this controversy in a way that maybe helps you formulate your own opinion or solidify it. It was theorized in a previous episode that maybe the guitar early origin was just somebody swinging on a vine, noticed that when you pulled it tight and plucked it, it made a sound. A musical note? Well, consider this. Advancing from rocks and clubs, primitive man found that a sharp, pointy stick was effective for hunting or killing foods and enemies. If you didn't want to get close to the target, it was later discovered that a pointy stick would fly farther away than just a spear when sprung out of a stretched string. So a bow came about. Bow and arrows, or archery, is a technology first developed by early modern humans in Africa as long as 71,000 years ago. So plucking a hunting bow string made a sound. The notes caused by the plucking strings on those primitive bows must have been noticed by hunters, and they also probably noticed that different notes came from strings of different length. Could be. So the earliest recorded stringed instrument from around 13,000 BC may be depicted in a French cave painting of a hunting bow used as a stringed instrument, and the engraving shows a mysterious figure, a man camouflaged to resemble a bison in the midst of a herd of animals, maybe hurting the beast by plucking on his instrument. A long stick with a strick on it. Well, that's a pretty good way to start. It's not very loud, but maybe some outside force inspired the idea of combining the stick with the string on it on a drum that could be used to amplify the music. There you go. Pretty good idea. Examples of the earliest stringed instruments date back to early Mesopotamia, as long as 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, and have been depicted in cave art from the Egyptian, Sumerian, and Babylon civilizations. They have various peoples who decided that people who played guitar or strings were really cool, and so they made carvings out of them and paintings out of them. The lute is basically a fretted neck with a bowl sound box at the base. The oldest known lute, pictured here, is a lute that belonged allegedly to a singer named Har Mos of 1490 BC. The lute was found next to his mummified body on the west bank of the Nile River in 1936. Note that the plectrum was still attached to his instrument with a string. Interesting idea there. Lutes appeared in the Middle East and Persia and spread throughout the globe. The word tar is an ancient Sanskrit word meaning string. So many stringed instruments have names that contain the word tar with a prefix that shows the number of strings. The roots of the lute started in Pakistan with the single-stringed ektar, then to Persia, where it became the two-string dutar, where you could play dyads that way. Then the three-string sitar in India that could play triads or chords, if you think about it. Then the four-string katar in the Middle East, and then to Spain, where it became first a five-string, then a six-string guitar. Pretty cool. Lutes entered Egypt in the 18th dynasty between 1549 and 1550 BC to the period of 1292 BC was that span of that dynasty. With the conquest of Asia Minor, as they went out and conquered people, they stole their axes, I guess. Anyway, it was common for the wealthier people of those times to own entertainers, often female slaves who danced and played their lutes for the amusement of their owners and the guests. And they were often also known to also play in public houses. Now, this all-girl rock band preceded the Bangles by some 3,500 years, and they actually did walk like Egyptians. So lutes continued to evolve from region to region, and musicians even used early forms of tablature to write down their music, believe it or not. There were tabs back then, and that's how they wrote down their music and shared it, I guess. Now, the guitar was a relatively small gut-strung round back instrument played with a quill plectrum that first appeared in literature and pictorial representation during the 13th century in Western Europe. It was also called the guitarna in Spain, the quiterne or guitarra in France, the chitarra in Italy, and the quintern in Germany. These marketing people back then were really pretty good for considering their technology. The guitarn is considered an ancestor of the modern guitar. A modern six-string acoustic guitar's originator, today's modern six-string guitar's originator, is said to be a man named Antonio de Torres Gerardo of Spain. In 1850, he created a six-string guitar recognizable as a modern guitar. His innovations included a thinner top with bracing to strengthen the top and the back, and he also set the tuning to what we use today, the standard EAD GBE tuning. Now, the big issue with guitars was, of course, volume. We've always had that problem, and the folks back in the cheap seats couldn't hear. So what do? Well, we electrify. Electric guitars, of course, are a lot lighter and a lot less polluting than those old diesel guitars that they used to use. But the first record of an electric guitar comes from a patent applied for in 1890 by a guy named George Breed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Breed guitar pickup was created an electromagnetic field that excited the strings, and the guitar's hollow body was a guitar amplifier. Now, the frying pan, the Rickenbacker A22, was first made as a Hawaiian laptop guitar. So the very first real electric guitar, a lot of people credit to be with Rickenbacker. He patented it in 1937, but the Ropat N was the first electric Spanish-style guitar. It was designed and manufactured and retailed by the Beauchamp Rickenbacker and Company. In 1937, Guy Hart of Gibson was awarded a patent for an electric guitar pickup. It wasn't the first one, but it was superior and different from the others enough to warrant a patent. Although the brand Singerlin has been famous for making drums. My first band I ever played in, the drummer had a Slingerland drum set. But believe it or not, in 1839, the Slingerland electric guitar, called the Songster, was considered to be the first solid body electric guitar. It was a catalog guitar, which you could order and get by mail along with its amplifier and case. Now, in 1939 era came the Les Paul log guitar. As you can see, it was a hunk of wood with electric stuff on it, and he cut a guitar in half and used the sides of the guitar, mounted it, and used it as wings to give it the guitar look. Don't see many of those are used around today, but that was the log guitar created by Les Paul. You know that name. Leo Fender didn't play the guitar, but his Fender Esquire guitar was a great leap into the future of electric guitars because he was the Henry Ford of the guitar world. The Esquire was simply a slab of wood with a bolt-on neck. It didn't have a truss rod and did have problems with warping. It was followed in 1951 by the Fender Broadcaster, whose name had to be changed due to a dispute with Gretsch Guitar Company, and for a while it was called the Fender Nocaster. Finally, in 1952, the Telecaster was created and remains much the same today as back then. Also in 1952 came the first Les Paul Gibson guitar. That's quite a journey. And to think about it, all could have begun with a guy hunting for dinner with his bow and arrow. You never know. Or shooting another guy. How did these changes come about? And you have to ask about, well, this guy made a one string. Somebody thought, well, if you can do one string, maybe you do two, and then three, and then it on and on and on. And you say, well, what created people to just not take the very first Ektar single string and say, hey, this is good, we're good to go? Well, so many different confusing choices have come up due to the advances and innovations that are spurred by those old evil concepts of competition and capitalism, trying to make a better mousetrap and make a buck. We could do it that way, or we could let the government design all of our guitars and do that. Anyway, well, a lot has changed. A lot have stayed the same. We still gig like we did back then, and we do it today. Only today we wear pants. And back then they used to put up statues to their guitar heroes, like this one right here. And you know what? We still do the exact same thing today. How about that? Thanks so much for stopping by. Remember to try to remind you to remember the triad of the that and the that and the that, if you're so kind. And otherwise, we would like to remind you that I'm Geetar Rob, and this is my channel. See you later.